I find that people that can't do things, that haven't done things, are going to tell you can't do it. They're projecting on you from themselves. And something I say is like, don't ever take advice from someone that hasn't gone where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
Right? Why would I listen to you if you haven't done what I'm trying to do? Like, show me your resume and I'll pick you apart first before you pick me apart. I started just posting myself on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I was going live and there was 2-3 people watching my live. People were literally in the comments laughing and making fun of me. You're a joke. You think you're something you're not. There's no way you're ever gonna be on TV. You're ever gonna be on the radio. Like, those people are projecting. You know, you gotta work on yourself. I always say, man, when I had 4 people watching my lives, I was sharpening my sword. There's always going to be naysayers. There's always gonna be skeptics. And now that I'm on, there's a ton of haters. That still are like, but like, you have to be able to have tunnel vision, block it out. Learn how to meditate and close your eyes and be in your own thoughts and block everything out. And if you can do that.
All right, guys, we're here, episode 24. Me and Pete are happy to welcome a longtime friend of mine, Keith McPherson from WFAN, KM to the AM. Keith has a great background in sports. He's got a sports talk radio show, obviously, but he's also recently gotten into public speaking and motivational speaking, and he's got a great story to tell, not just with ups, but with some downs as well. And we're not here to focus on downs, but explain that to have those ups, you got to experience some struggle along the way. So, Keith, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me, guys. And for anyone that isn't aware of me or who I am, I'm from Monmouth County. I graduated Ocean High School and Monmouth University. Sports was my vehicle to get to where I am now. I played football my whole life, pretty much from 8, 9 years old in the street in the neighborhood. And then finally getting into like Pop Warner football at like 10 or 11 and getting good by the time I was like 11 or 12. And, the dads in my town started to say, hey, if you keep this going, you can go to college. My family didn't have money for college. I didn't know how I was going to go to college. Football ended up being the way that I got to college and got my radio television degree, which is what I'm doing now. But the journey is a lot longer. There's a lot of winds in the road, twists and turns in the road. I graduated from college 2011. I didn't get on the radio in New York until 2021. So there was a decade of struggle, a decade of questioning myself, a decade of finding myself, maturing, growing up, trying different things until I actually got to my true north. And, now that I'm on, now that I'm, someone that people look up to and people think is this like star or this prominent person that, is getting to interview athletes and rubbing shoulders with entertainers and people in New York City and in different spaces, I find myself in these spaces looking at these people and all they want to do is flex, the country club that they're in or where they went, VIP and where they're playing golf. And I'm like, nah, let's talk about the real stuff. Yeah. Let's talk about how you got here. Let's talk about the struggle. And for me, man, I've struggled in a bunch of different ways, and I want people to look at me as someone that's just real and they could relate to. And maybe there's one piece of something that I say today that breaks through to one person and that helps that person change their life and get to where they got to go.
Speaking our language, because we started this with the intentions of helping one person, and that was our goal. And, we like to talk about struggle and overcoming obstacles and, so many things that we were talking about earlier before we started getting live where, that's exactly what we're doing here. If there's one person who's watching right now that's having a hard time, and whether it's substance abuse or mental, whatever it may be, or feeling super overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, whatever it may be, keep pushing, keep finding those solutions. So that's right in our wheelhouse, man.
Yes, sir.
So along your way to what I'll call the top, and hopefully you have many more mountains to climb in your career, what's some of the adversity you'd like to share with us? Like where have you been and where have you found yourself mentally, and how'd you pull yourself out?
I would say the 3 things that I had to overcome, one, the death of my brother, that grief, even some survivor's guilt, even just like, my brother was 10 years older than me, so I always looked up to him. He lost his life at 37. I'm about to be 36 this year. So that was something that completely changed how I looked at the world and just like shocked me to the core. Also substance abuse, drinking, smoking, being in the party scene, right? You and I go back to DJing 10, 15 years ago. There's almost a 0% chance I'm in the bar DJing, promoting, MCing sober.
Yeah.
But I'm sober a lot now. Like I'm just not able to even drink the way I used to. So grief and losing a loved one, substance abuse, and then, man versus himself, that battle that you have with yourself, whether it's imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Am I what I think I am? And then looking in the mirror every day and deciding who you want to be and realizing that you are good enough and you can get it done, but you got to beat that man in the mirror first before anything else. You got to prove it to yourself first. So I would say
one of
those
my
are
favorite songs, "Man in the Mirror" by Michael Jackson.
I'm struggling with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways.
We can record if you want. I can have Alan throw it on right now.
If you want to make the world a better place.
When you think about that, like a lot of things, put it in perspective. When you're struggling with yourself, you got a lot of people around you, at least for me, this holds true, that not are rooting for you to fail, but are not rooting for you to succeed. Everybody wants to tell you that it's not attainable, that your goals are not what they should be because you can't do it, or what's the point, or it's not attainable. And that puts you to question yourself. Now, I know for me, I've set goals that people tell me are unrealistic. You're not going to do it. You're setting yourself up for failure. Yeah, but I'm setting myself up for failure, which means I'm also probably setting myself up for success if I don't listen to you.
Right.
So if I persevere and I keep pushing, where am I going to be if I don't listen to you?
Yeah.
And
no, it's true.
I'm sure you've had a lot of people that were naysayers along your journey.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it was football, starting off in football, like I wanted to go to college. I wanted to play in college. I was able to do that. The NFL was always, people were always like, and I didn't make it to the NFL, and that's really by choice. I ended up giving my scholarship back and not even really trying to pursue it. But like, I find that people that can't do things, that haven't done things, are going to tell you can't do it. They're projecting on you from themselves. And something I say is like, don't ever take advice from someone that hasn't gone where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
Truth.
Right? Why would I listen to you if you haven't done what I'm trying to do? Like, show me your resume and I'll pick you apart first before you pick me apart.
Yeah.
And even with the radio, wanting to be on the radio, man, I started just posting myself on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I was going live and there was 2-3 people watching my live. I was putting out content and people were literally in the comments laughing and making fun of me. You're a joke. You think you're something you're not. There's no way you're ever going to be on TV. You're ever going to be on the radio. Like, hang it up. This is laughable. And it's like those people are projecting and, you got to work on yourself. I always say, man, when I had 4 people watching my lives, I was sharpening my sword. Yep. I tell people now that are trying to get into radio in the industry, man, practice saying your own first name. If you can't say I'm Keith McPherson straight into a camera, into a microphone 100 times, like practice that when no one's watching.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do little things like that. So, man, there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be skeptics. And now that I'm on, there's a ton of haters.
Yeah.
That still are like, but like you have to be able to have tunnel vision, block it out. You and I were talking about meditating. Man, learn how to meditate and close your eyes and be in your own thoughts and block everything out. And if you can do that, all the detractors and all the haters will just bounce off you.
So with the meditation, now you have a kid. I have 3 kids. Mine are young, 6, 4, and 2. But with my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old, I've began teaching them small doses of meditation. Yeah. And I noticed for my daughter especially, it helps. Getting her breathing and her emotions under control before cheerleading. Her first competition or exhibition, she ran off the mat crying. I grabbed her, we go sit on the steps at the school, and I put on a guided meditation on YouTube. Leveled her out, she was good after that. Every other cheer competition after, she does some breathing before she goes out, and she absolutely crushes it.
Yeah.
It's a skill or a coping technique that I wish somebody taught me when I was younger, but that's the point of evolution as parents. My father and mother didn't have the ability to give me that knowledge then, but now I'm amassing it with the people I've put around me and the tools that I've used for myself for self-improvement, and I'm able to pass that on to my kids. And with Pete by my side and everybody that sat where you're sitting, I'm able to take a little bit away from everybody, and I'm able to give that to my kids.
Yes.
And I know Pete's practicing a lot of what we're grabbing here too.
Yeah. We actually did nightly prayer with me and the boys. I was holding hands. You know, I've talked about this on here in the past that I lost a spiritual connection, you know, kind of like force-fed Catholic growing up, and never really, you know, I would feel good at church, but it was never like it was never something that I like longed for until I was like extremely depressed and I was really reaching for a lot of different things to feel better. So I've been doing like this prayer plunge in the cold plunge, and it's almost like a combination of like praying, meditation, gratitude, like all kind of culminated into like 3 minutes of me like closing my eyes and like finding peace. So I grabbed both of my boys' hands, and my son is 4 and my other son is 9. My 4-year-old seemed a little bit confused, but he was pretty into it. But it was like right before bed, and right before bed at my house gets a little bit crazy. Dave Seidenberg was telling us that however the experiences are right before bed for your children is going to kind of dictate their feelings and emotions when they wake up. Yeah. So I was pretty conscious of that, and things get crazy at my house before bed. Like, you know, it gets pretty wild.
Same.
Yeah. So we were holding hands, and we were just, you know, just more just like gratitude prayer, but like holding their hands, and like it made me feel really fulfilled. You could tell were like calmed down. They went to sleep like a little bit after that, and like we all woke up with like good energy. So like tonight I'm looking forward to doing that again. But I was thinking, like, as you were saying, like that generation of parents prior to us, there was a lot of that, like you can't do it in different things. Not with terrible intentions, because they wanted us to have a safety net and be okay. Yeah. Like they wanted us to have like that guaranteed W-2.
No one shot their shot.
Yeah, like, but you know, they had good intentions there. Not that I'm rushing for the future, but I'm excited for the conversations that are going to happen when our kids get to those weird college ages, or, you know, 18 years old trying to figure it out. I talked to a lot of young college wrestlers, you know, 23 years old about to graduate. Mm-hmm. Now you got this huge world you're getting into. You got all these adults telling you what you should and shouldn't do. And like in your heart and soul, you know that there's more in you. You're not really sure where to go. I'm looking forward to that. Not that I'm going to rush to get there, but I'm looking forward to the open-mindedness that we're going to have in those conversations. Like, hey, what's really pulling your heart? Like, okay, you really like that? Well, maybe there's a business that you could start there. Maybe you get some supplemental income in a regular job or driving Uber or anything else, you know, just to make sure your bills are paid. But chase that passion, chase that fire. Don't let 30 years go by at this W-2 job that you absolutely hate, just so you can make sure that you have your money, have your paycheck, your health insurance, and different things.
Finding that confidence as a kid, as a young adult, to pursue your passion is a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
And you have to truly believe in yourself. Like, I'm sure there were times you looked in the mirror and said, I'm wasting my time, blah, blah, blah. But you dug deep, and you found the inner Keith McPherson that told you to keep pushing, and you grinded it out.
Yeah, New York is hard. New York is the most competitive place in the world to do anything. So when you strike out, there's a lot of times where you come back to just like, I can't do it. But, you know, this is going to be long-winded, but this is going to, you know, come back around through everything you guys said. Meditation and prayer for me are very similar. And I was praying before I started meditating. I was in the church as a child with my grandmother, and then I was away from the church. My mom, dad, they never brought me to the church, but I spent summers in Jacksonville learning the Bible, learning the Lord's Prayer, the 23rd Psalm, like Sunday school, being in the church 3 times a week, Bible study, choir practice. No choice. Like, just my grandmother is taking care of me. This is what she did. And I'm thankful for that. She recently told me a story about me coming to her asking to be baptized. And I told her, I'm like, I just remember I wanted to be down. Like, I'm the only kid from Jersey. I'm in Florida. All these other kids are baptized. They live down there. I got baptized. And then, like, that stayed with me throughout my whole life. And I needed that. I absolutely needed that faith in God, feeling like I was baptized, like, you know, feeling like I was down and that God was always watching over my life. And as human beings, we need to believe in a higher power. We need to believe in, you have to have some kind of faith, because without it, everything is going to be too hard. So I think in 2020, with the pandemic and the world being upside down and where it was, that's when my wife and I really started to meditate. She does yoga, and then she also found the guided meditation stuff on YouTube and apps. And like, once I really started to like close my eyes, center myself, control my breathing, it just gave me a sense of like, living in the present, getting back. Like, we're so overstimulated. Everything, like, our phones, I'm sure when I open my phone after doing this, I'm going to have 30 notifications and something pulling you in all these different ways. Yeah. But, like, you need something to just kind of center yourself and lock in. And, you know, through my struggles, I was able to pray on things. I pray when I wake up in the morning, thankful for the day. I pray before I eat a piece of food, and I just thank God for the food and being able to eat however I got it. And then I pray before I go to sleep. But, you know, with any time in, like, if I'm going into a radio show, I'll hit my inhaler. I'll be sitting in the studio, and I'll just think about what I'm about to do and, like, be thankful that I'm physically there. And it'll center myself where I'm not worried about what's going on TikTok. I'm not worried about my bills. I'm not worried about what my mom said last night in a random text. Right. I'm present in the moment.
You're focused.
And it brings a lot of just like the right energy and like tunnel vision again, just like narrowing your focus to like not be worried about other things. Being on the radio was hard. To be live on air, you can't mess up. And I've told my family this, don't text me during the show. Don't hit me with nonsense. Cause like I gotta be locked in to do that job for hundreds of thousands of people that are gonna hear it. My faith in God, being able to pray, learning how to meditate, control my breathing and center myself to be present in the moment. Like those things help me through the struggles and stay with me through the successes.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you. Did you find when you were struggling that you found more of a religious connection and more of a connection to meditation to help refocus or rechannel your outlook on your goals? Because I'm sure there was a lot of self-doubt at some points. I know I've had it. I know Pete's had it. You always wind up questioning yourself in times of darkness. And for me, I've said it. I grew up in the Roman Catholic Church. I went to Catholic school. My relationship with God today is not confined by the constraint of going to church. I worship on my terms.
I'm a walking church.
Yeah, like I'm good.
I live in my temple.
I could walk the dog and have a conversation with God. I could sit in my house and have a conversation. I could do it wherever I want. I don't have to go to church. But those conversations with God and especially today, going to the gym or getting in a sauna, working on cold plunging, stuff like that has helped me find, like you said before, your true north. It's helped me find who I am a little bit more each day. Yes. And that's ever changing and evolving. But, you know, I find that my relationship with God and the meditation really does help.
It's just incredible that higher power, no matter what religion or what it is, you could almost take the pressure off of your own shoulders. Now you're out of your thoughts, because we talk about some of those negative thoughts coming in. And once they start going, it's almost like, you know, you're playing ping pong against multiple people at the exact same time with all these thoughts. And like when some of them start, it's kind of like a tidal wave. And now it's like, oh yeah, okay, the bills, I got this, I got that. It's like all this worry where if you could just find your peace in any way, whether it's through calming down through that breathing, gratitude, you know, meditation, prayer, whatever it looks like for the individual, it really does take immense pressure off your shoulders.
That's the pathway to defeating your own ego. And when I say defeating your own ego, I'm not talking about being cocky or like, you have to defeat your own ego as far as like what you think about yourself and what you think other people think about you. It does not matter. None of that matters.
Not your business either.
It does not matter. You need to defeat the constant thought. Like, you know, you sharing the story about how you started going on and posting videos and telling people about your show. You defeated your ego because you're able to do that and help people. You had to have some point where you were like, I don't care what someone's going to think about this.
I didn't. Prior to that, so that was actually right up the street at the dentist. So I had a seizure and I landed on my face, and it was a very dark time for me. It was coming up on 2 years ago, and I had half a tooth. And I was doing these videos for like mortgage marketing and different things on my social media, and I would purposely leave like my bottom lip down. So I went to the dentist, they capped my tooth, and I got on video and I said it all. And it was almost like a relief for me, where like it wasn't in my own head anymore. I had to do a lot of self-improvement along the way, but like I hit record on there and I was so thrilled that my tooth was fixed, but I couldn't believe that day in that moment. I felt so alone that I was the only one suffering or struggling. And the amount of people that hit my DMs, I have the chills thinking about it. I was like, dang, man, I would have never thought you were hurt. And I would have never thought you were hurt. And like, dang, you're struggling with that. And I was like, so many people are hurting. Like, I'm so glad that I shared my story because it allowed somebody else to hit me up and say, dude, I'm struggling too, man. Like, what did you do? And I'm like, yeah, I did X, Y, Z. All right, what are you feeling? Okay, I'm a little bit tapped out on my resources. Maybe you should contact so-and-so. Maybe they're going to get you right.
But think about how many people have reached out to me or you or any of the guests that were on here just in the short time that we've been doing this that would have never assumed I struggled or you struggled. You know, you're talking about two guys that locally are pretty well known in the community for doing good things. I'm not talking about anything over the top, but we're always here to support. And outside looking in, maybe no one sees that there could be a struggle. But I struggle every fucking day, whether it's bills, an argument with my wife, my kids aren't doing what I think they should be doing, work, or my demons, you know, and just for people to hear it from a familiar face or a familiar voice opens them up to be vulnerable.
Or someone they look up to, or someone they think is doing better than them. Two phrases for you guys. There's a saying, it's something like, if we all threw our problems into a circle in the middle, everybody would want their own problems back. Like if you actually saw everybody else and what they're dealing with, then the other phrase is like, be kind to people because somebody is going through something. Everybody is going through 100%. Something rather. Like, we live in an internet time where the culture on the internet is to be nasty, to be mean, to be condescending, to be talking about people, clap backing and like trolling. But it's like, man, in person, you're not allowed to be like that. It's just like, that's not real life. In real life, you got to be compassionate. In real life, you got to be caring because you don't know what someone else is going through. And you can help somebody by sharing your own struggle and your own pain.
There's no accountability with the internet either. So like,
a lot of telephone tough guys out there. Say it to my face, days are over.
Yeah, but even beyond that, like, listen, I deal with bullshit every day. But you don't see me posting videos of me in Aruba or the Bahamas flexing, or whatever. Like, it's just not happening. It's not my life.
It makes it difficult as the person on the other side of the screen. It's hard not to have that comparison world. Like, if you can control the social media and just take it for what it is, like you can get that good stuff, that good vulnerable story out there. But it's very easy
enough to be able to.
It's very easy to now feel like a piece of shit because you're not on vacation. Oh shit, I don't have money for Disney. I'm not in Aruba right now. It's raining in New Jersey.
Sneakers. You don't have that car. You're not like the story I told about how I spoke with some young kids that are, some kids are in high school, they're going to college. Some kids don't have the means to go to college, but they're looking at one or two people whose parents seem like they have it all. And the girl has got balloons in her room and white and blue and a big Penn State logo, and they think she's the greatest thing. Oh, they're either looking at this girl and they're feeling inadequate, or looking at this girl thinking that she's got it all. But give it a year or two. Right?
See where she's at.
See where she is. When she goes to Happy Valley and dives into that culture without mommy and daddy there, with mommy and daddy just making sure her debit account is good. And
it's sink
she
or
comes
swim
back with
point.
a coke problem and she's an alcoholic and she's failing and flunking out of class. So what happened to that one post that got 1,000 likes on Instagram and Facebook? We thought it was all great at the time.
It takes a special type of person to acknowledge struggle. And I'm not saying I do it the best, but I've gotten more and more comfortable every week being a little bit more vulnerable. So, like, listen, business isn't always good. Right now is our slow time. It sucks. I mean, this is the nature of the beast. But I've also figured out our peaks and valleys. So at this point, like, I could sit here and I could be stressed, but I know in a week business is going to pick back up.
It's going to get warmer. People are going to start coming
What's
down.
What's the point in stressing about it right now? It's like, internally, I'm probably a little stressed about it, but there's no need for it to dictate how I'm responding to Pete or to you or to my kids. And that's the same thing. Like, you could sit here and you could look at that girl going to Penn State and you could let it dictate how you're going to respond to your life. But what's the point? Because no matter what, you still got your struggles and you still have to win your life. So you still got to wake up in the morning, put your pants on, get up, go to work or go to school and figure out your shit.
Yeah, exactly. You were talking about pretty much a situation where one individual is going to college and the other individual is not and might feel a certain type of way. I was talking to a wrestler whose wrestling career just ended on Sunday. And I coached him in high school. He went up to Johnson & Wales. That's where I went. And he was very down and out on himself on Monday, and we talked for about an hour and a half, and we had an amazing conversation. And it's just wild to talk to someone that you coached in high school, and then now they're like 22 years old, and so we had like a really, really great conversation. But I said we put so much onus on the results. So wrestling, it's like national champ or like All-American.
Yeah.
And, you know, they would say different things up there like, hey, I got my plaque. And I'm like, okay, 5 kids a year on average from Johnson & Wales actually go to NCAAs. So now you have 35 kids that are sitting home feeling exactly like this kid I was on the phone with. My story is more relatable to those 35 than to the 5 that actually got on the plane. But when everything is all about have to be an All-American, have to get that plaque, have to get a national champ, there's 35 dudes at home that feel terrible. Yeah. I didn't realize until Monday that I wasn't the only one that had that same feeling.
You're in the majority.
So when I was talking to this individual, there was a lot of common ground there, and a light bulb went off in my mind like, dang, my wrestling journey, my struggles are more of the norm. And the guy that I was comparing myself to back in the day almost fit that realm of what you were talking about. There was this guy on my team. His name was Brandon McDonough. He was from Iowa. He was adopted. He came over to Johnson & Wales. He had an amazing wrestling career. He died of a drug overdose, but he got the hardware. So I used that example to this guy on the phone. I'm like, just be careful who you're comparing yourself to.
Right.
Even the NCAA champ that you might have a little bit of envy towards, even if he's your teammate, he went on the plane, he got it done, you didn't get it done. Be careful, because that kid's got struggles too. Yeah. He got the plaque, but maybe his life story needed that plaque. Maybe at home things are real rough. Yeah. You don't know, so be careful who you're comparing yourself to. This is just part of your story. This is how it's supposed to go. This is building resilience within you right now that at 22 years old, it's very hard to see. But when you're 38 years old like I am, you're going to be grateful for it. Because it's going to give you this resilience that the next thing that comes your way, you know, maybe it's work, or maybe I told him, maybe there's a leaderboard at your job. He wants to get a finance degree. You know, maybe you got these older cats that their name's going to be on the board, and you're going to outwork those guys. And before you know it, those guys are going to maybe have a little bit of backsided envy towards you. Yeah. But it's so true, exactly what you said, and I felt like I had something very relatable that just went on, on Monday.
Can't be quantified in plaques or medals or physical things. I know, right? When you're going through something, it is developing you, it is building you. You got to go through it to get to it, is what I said earlier. Because, like, you know, you're in wrestling, right? And in a lot of sports, man, there are life lessons that you get from those practices, those long days. There's life lessons you get from thinking you're going to win a match and you end up losing, right? And all of that stuff is making you who you are. And for the young people, man, it's hard for them to see. It's a long road. I know when I was younger, my wife said this, I was always living for today like there was no tomorrow. Now that I'm older, every day I'm planning for tomorrow. I have a kid now. I was always living like I might not see 35. Right. I might not see 40. You will. And you got to almost have blind faith that, like, even though you can't see it, even though you can't visualize it, like, God has a plan for you. Like, you got to have blind faith and walk forward and go through the mud, go through the nonsense, go through the losses, the struggle, the anxiety, the self-doubt. It's not forever. It's temporary. You're going to get somewhere.
Those stories of struggle and self-doubt, that speaks to the majority. You know, when you're talking about a state championship wrestler or an All-American, that's the minority that achieves that.
Yeah, 100%. I've been saying that a lot lately.
Your story resonates with the majority of collegiate wrestlers. That's just the facts. Everybody looks at that one person that achieved that level of success and says, wow, I'd love to be that. What about the guy that struggled, didn't achieve that level of success, but went on to crush it as a father, a husband, an entrepreneur, whatever it is.
What he learned to other
that's where it's at. That's where the huge wins come.
You have taken that struggle that you felt at a younger age and turned it into today. You have as well. And I'm still getting there, but I'm doing it myself too. Finding my inner peace, finding who I am. But you boys did it, and you both were involved in collegiate sports, so there's no better way to embrace. You didn't make it to the NFL. You weren't an All-American wrestler. But look at you guys today.
Discipline. You learn work ethic, discipline.
Yeah.
You learn scheduling. You learn being a teammate, being on a team.
Accountability.
Right? Accountability. It's not all just about you. Like all of those things get applied to your work life, your family life. You need that foundation set young. So I think a lot of times when we're kids or when we're young, we're playing a sport or wrestling or running track or basketball because we like it. But like it's also molding us, and you gotta know, which is hard to know, that like you'll be better for it in the long term. It might not turn into you being the state champ, All-American, but if you keep those principles and values and apply them to the rest of your life, you will win in some other capacity.
100%.
It's setting you up for long-term success. Success today at a young age is great, but you need to be successful. Let's say through a college athletic career, you're successful. That's going to end at 23. What are you going to do from 23 to 70?
The real world hits.
Yeah, this is where you need to achieve success. This is where, and I don't mean success financially. I mean inner peace, having a peaceful family life and home life. That all comes, and there's always variables that are going to try to fuck that up. At least for me, I know that it's a struggle every day to go home and keep the peace. Whether my kids are yelling and screaming and I got to bring them down. Like, you got one kid, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have more than one at some point. I got to work towards it. I only have this one kid because I was able to finally hit where I hit and make some money and have some where I felt like I could bring a child into this world that I was financially stable enough to help.
Because I got 3 and it's a shitstorm. Petey has 3 and it's a shit. It's just that's what it is.
Of course, it's 3 lives.
I was so overwhelmed last night. I got into like this self-induced like pity party. It was actually like 2 nights in a row. And it just gets to be a lot at night. But like my daughter goes down like a darn firecracker. And then like once the house is sleeping, I have 2 boys and a baby girl. Not baby, she's 2.5. 2.5, 4, and 9.
Still.
Yeah. And I'm no longer gonna bitch about my kids longing for my love.
No, because that's the best thing.
But I'll find myself there like, they all want daddy at the same time. That's a huge blessing. Why would I be upset about that? But when it's at the exact same time and you need help with homework and you have the iPad and you want me to lay on your lap, I can only do one thing at a time. Like, all I got is like one at a time.
You need a clone.
Yeah,
you need a daddy clone.
I need one of those like deli receipts. Like, next. All right, you're up. What do you want? Homework? Okay, good. Next.
Do they get mad if you don't like? I know for me,
they're cool, dude. It's all in my own mind.
No, because Rosie and Josephine, they have a competition for dad's attention. So I have a 6-year-old boy and then I have 2 younger girls. If Rosie comes and lays on the couch next to me, Josephine comes and now is trying to throw Rosie off the couch.
Oh, see, that's where it gets
Sibling
real
rivalry
tough.
and competition for dad's affection.
Yeah, and like Josephine is wild. She's my youngest. She's turning 3 in June. Rosie's 4. She'll be 5 in December. Josephine will fist fight Rosalie, and like with out of care.
Is that serious though?
Yeah,
dead ass.
She will just walk up, bang, like it's nothing. And we call Josephine has red hair, and I've always referred to her as Chucky, and she is really starting to embrace that. But Max is
not good.
No, it's not. Max is super chill. He can sit on the couch, play on his iPad, watch TV, whatever it is. He'll be doing his homework, and the girls are just going wild. But the minute, with Josephine especially, I'm focused on Rosie a little bit more, it is on. And that's where I find it hard to find the balance.
Yeah.
When it comes to the little girls, competition.
When it comes to the little girls, Marlena Hodgins right up the street, she said, don't put that fire out. She's going to need it one day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, let the fire keep going. We got to handle it well, but don't put out the fire. Because there's going to be a time in their life where they're going to need that fire. And if we put it out now, don't bother.
You're not wrong.
Let her embrace the Chucky. Hey, you want to swing at your sister? I mean, listen, we're a little frowned upon, but life is going to be coming at you.
Yeah, you're going to have to fight in life.
Yeah, you really are.
My wife gets mad because I'll let them try to work their shit out on their own. So, like, if Rosie has something and Josephine wants it, she walks over and takes it. I'll maybe try and intervene, but ultimately you guys got to figure it out.
Figure it out.
You know, I'm not going to let them like throw each other into chairs and stuff, but we're gonna figure this out, guys. This is coping techniques.
Yeah.
You know,
in your family and your brothers, sisters, whatever, and you're gonna need each other. And these little battles, whatever, when you get older, they're not gonna matter. Here's something that I just thought of as you guys were saying. You know, the challenge of like just the nighttime stuff, like. Nothing worth having comes easy, right?
Truth.
They talk about how you can make a Hyundai in like 7 hours, but it takes 7 days to make a Bentley.
See?
The time might be off,
See?
but
it's
the
like
concept is correct.
No, it's so spot on.
everybody can get a Hyundai. Not everybody can get a Bentley because of the time that it takes.
Yeah.
It costs more,
So
right? It's just,
true.
you know, and that's what I tell a lot of these young people that want it fast, man. I'm talking to so many kids that are out of college and they're just like, I want to be on the radio. I'm like, man, you got to go through some stuff. You got to build towards that.
How long did it take you to get on?
It's from graduating from Monmouth University in 2011. It took me 10 years to actually get to the radio in New York, which is the most competitive market.
Yeah.
And like, you have to earn it to get there. If you don't have somebody, which I didn't have anybody putting my name on the top of the resumes or saying, I specifically want you to intern, you got to figure it out your own way. And I did that through hustling. I did that through networking. I did that through not being afraid. So, you know, the long and short of my story is when I got out of Monmouth University, I was DJing and I tried to apply to places. The one place I thought I was going to get, I had a street team interview for 92.3 Now in the city. And I learned something with that. I thought I crushed it because the interview went well. I came home, told everybody, I'm going to be working at 92 Point Now. This is my in. I'm going to be at the radio station. And I never heard back from them. So, one, don't count your eggs before they hatch and don't start telling people what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You know, keep your dreams and keep your, you know, what you're working on close to the chest until you can unveil it. But I started working at Guitar Center around that time because I was already in the DJ game with speakers and microphones, and I knew all that stuff. So I started working in the pro audio department at Guitar Center. I did that for a year, and a girl that I went to school at James Madison University with was working in casting in New York City. She hit me up on Facebook, and she was like, I always see you with Yankee hats on and like wearing Yankees jerseys, and like you seem like a big Yankee fan. There's this thing called the MLB Fan Cave. They're looking for people to audition. And I'm like, oh, I've heard of that, but like, you know, audition for what? She's like, to be like in the cave as one of the people. So I sent a 2-minute tape on YouTube talking about myself. And at the time, I didn't have much to offer. But I said I was a big Yankee fan and what I was into and that I'd love to come to the city for a season. And I actually got chosen. I got picked. So that was a big break for me. But it was 2014 when that happened. I went 3 years of having to hustle, doing everything from the strip club to bar mitzvahs to, you know, college graduation parties to DJing, you know, whatever I could do DJ, MC, promotion wise to make a little bit of money, and then working at Guitar Center, whatever. I got that break from the fan cave, and I thought, I'm in New York. I'm now like I have connections. I have something on my resume. No, I went home. And I was unemployed from that October of 2014 until March of 2015. And the money that I had made in the fan cave, I had burned all that up, just not having a job. I was this close. It was either go work at the Home Depot and Neptune off of 66, or what I ended up doing was taking a job at MTV as a social media coordinator in the city because there was one lady that remembered me from the fan cave because MTV did a TV show out of there. All it takes is one person to recognize you, one person to connect the dot for you. And I'm so thankful for her. Her name's Brittany Travis. She gave me an opportunity. I interviewed. I took that job at MTV. I worked there for 2.5 years. I was just so thankful to have something on my resume. And what I hated was when I came out of college, they're like, you need 3 to 5 years of experience. How the hell am I going to have 3 to 5 years of experience? I'm already disqualified.
Right.
Now I had the experience, and now I felt like I was in the driver's seat a little bit more. Wrong again. I quit the job at MTV thinking that I could just, you know, take my experience and go somewhere. I'm unemployed. That's when I started to drive Lyft, Uber. I didn't want to start collecting unemployment yet, but I saw an email about if you complete your first 100 rides in 30 days, they'll give you a bonus $1,000.
You were after that $1,000.
There's some motivation.
I can do that. I do the Lyft Uber thing. I do end up getting a job at Fubo TV. I don't work there for a year. Jay-Z's company comes calling, Rock Nation. They message me on LinkedIn. A young girl says that they looked at my resume, my skill set. They need somebody for their digital marketing department. So now I go work there. I worked there for 3 months. I absolutely hate it. I feel like a peon, a minion. I'm just another cog in the machine.
Yeah.
And like my thoughts and, things I want to put out there, nobody cares about. People are calling me at 1 a.m, do this, do that. Social media, they don't turn off. So you always got to post something, do something. I quit. And now after quitting 3 jobs in a row, I do collect unemployment, but I'm just so fed up. And I'm looking at the internet, and I'm looking at people starting podcasts. 2017, podcast world explodes, and everybody is starting to rise that like is talking about sports or music or fashion or whatever it is. So I buy a MacBook, I buy a camera, and I start hustling again. And now I'm setting up that camera, and I'm doing what I'm doing right here, talking on the microphone about whatever it is, and I'm starting to build my followers. Then I do a couple podcasts. Then I end up working with John Boy and these guys. They blow up. And through doing my Nets podcast and my Yankees podcast under them, hundreds of episodes, content, going to games, rubbing shoulders with people, the Yes Network put me in a commercial. Now I'm starting to rise. Now I'm starting to be seen. WFAN comes calling. They give me a audition night, August 25th of 2021. There's the 10 years. I do my audition. I think I suck. I do my audition, I'm asking for a mulligan. They kind of just were quiet with me for 2 months, and then they came back around to offer me the nighttime position, and I've been in that position since November of 2021.
And you thought you did no good. You thought it was a...
The man in the mirror was saying, you could have done better. You weren't prepared enough. I had went in with a whole agenda of what I wanted to do without realizing that the callers are going to call the show, and they're going to take you in a different direction. I handled it well, but I thought I didn't handle it well enough. And that's the imposter syndrome. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a radio host. Maybe I'm not that good at this. But I was able to get over it. And like I said, I've been running 3 years now at WFAN at night, getting better and better at my craft and just like learning through the process. And now that I feel pretty stable in it, what I've set out to do, and that's kind of why we're here, is to show people that, this wasn't just a rocket ship to the number one sports station in the world. Like, it took a lot of luck. It took a lot of prayer. It took, prayers being answered. It took a lot of perseverance, of perseverance, risk. Some of the struggles I've forgotten now. Yeah. Some of the things that I did, like I told you, I was selling my Jordans on Facebook Marketplace. Like, somebody will buy a used pair of Jordans for $100. I need that $100. I was selling furniture. I sold my old DJ gear, like selling lights and DJ stands, just whatever to make ends meet.
You did what you had to do to make your dream come to fruition, though.
And also my wife, because my wife was with me, she didn't co-sign me quitting those jobs. So when we're living together and paying rent, and I'm coming home like, I quit MTV, I quit Fubo TV, I quit Rock Nation. She's like, well, what the hell are we going to do? I'm telling her, don't worry. Like, I have some money I put to the side. I'm also going to hustle. But I always told her, like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop. We're going to win. I have that much perseverance, that much hustle, that much want to. Like, we're going to get to a better place. And we have, and that's how we're able to have a kid. And that's
now, was she ultimately supportive of your entire journey?
My wife, I give her a ton of credit, because when people were telling her you could do better than him, when people were telling her this guy's not going to be shit, when people were telling her this guy's an alcoholic, he's a couple steps away from getting arrested again, he's a couple steps away from throwing it all away, she saw through all of that, and she's like, nah, I'm in class with this dude. He's really smart.
Yeah,
like,
it's so amazing
he's a good guy.
how the ladies have this
you guys
intuition
look at him
or whatever.
As like, some people, when you're black and you look a certain way, people think you're a thug. I'm far from a thug, but people looked at me like a degenerate thug that was just going to be in jail or get, caught up and stuff. And I dodged a lot of it, but I give my wife credit because she just always saw the good in me.
That's great.
She put up with a lot of nonsense, but she
always
believed.
The ladies have that in them, that they could see what in us what we don't see in the mirror.
Dude, now
yeah,
I'm
like
35.
how did you see that?
But
I wasn't giving you any reason when I was drinking hard as hell and I was acting like an idiot. How did I give you any reason? Yeah. What did you see in me? I did not see that. Like you were with me at the party. You saw me acting a fool. I slept till 2 p.m. Yeah. What am I bringing to the table?
Where was the success story?
No, they see it though.
There's a common variable. A lot of people that have had some struggles, that have been in this room, that are married with kids, have a strong partner. Now listen, me and my wife have far from the perfect relationship, But I know when push comes to shove. And just like nobody has a perfect relationship. There are struggles in every marriage. Don't let me sound like my marriage is not good. It's wonderful. I love my wife. But I know that when I come home and I say, Mare, we have to do X, Y, and Z. This is what I'm planning to do. She trusts me.
And she's got your back.
And she supports me.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
And that gives me the confidence to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
Because if she shook my confidence, I'd never be able to double down on me. And when I double down on me, that's me doubling down on us because I'm ultimately working to improve my family life.
For sure.
So
there was a time I failed the mortgage test so many times. And my son was 2 months old the last time I failed, and I had to wait like 6 months to take it. And I was crying. I was crying in the testing center. And we were living in Belmar at the time. I go back to Belmar, and I was so down in the dumps. I thought I was like the biggest loser ever. And she's like, "You're gonna do this." She's like, "I've been watching you. You've been studying. You've been doing everything that you can at the job. Like, you know what you're talking about now." She's like, "I'm gonna help you though." So she would help me with the index cards. I was just taking practice tests and thinking I was gonna absorb it like that. So, but she really believed in me 100%, even when I didn't believe in myself.
Though.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need that one other voice.
Yeah. Yep.
And especially if it's coming from your significant other, like who else do you need in your corner?
You don't need anybody else.
My wife gets credit over some of my family members. Some of my family, my mom, my sister
That's
were literally
every
like,
family.
"You need to go get a real job." I hate
Yeah,
people saying,
hate
"You need to go
that
get a
real
real
job."
job." I'm like, "No, I have something in me.
Yeah.
Like it's going to become something. I just got to keep going." Like November 7th, 2019 was the last Uber ride I did because I got hit. And
Hidden blessing.
so I'm at the light and somebody is on their phone and not paying attention and they hit the car behind me. That car hits into me. I got passengers in the car. We're like, "Yo, what the hell?" But like at that time, I remember going home and being like, "I gotta chill. I can't be driving around trying to make $13 a ride, if that." I'm like, I gotta chill. I'm like, I am in this middle period where these podcasts I'm working on, they're growing. My social media following is growing. I just gotta chill. Christmas is gonna suck. I gotta disappoint family members and say, "Hey, I ain't got much for you here." But I gotta chill. I gotta lock in. And the next thing you know, we fell into the pandemic that year. But like little things happen with my wife where like my wife, sometimes my wife got to pick up the grocery bill.
Yeah.
Like my wife had a list of, and this is when we were younger, things Keith owes, like while I was out of work or while I didn't have it. And then one day she's like, I deleted that note of like, all the money that you owe me because I realized like, you're on your path to like making more money than me and you're not going to turn around and look at me and be like,
"Yeah, let me get that cable bill."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, having a significant other like that is great. And then the last thing, like, you guys are talking about bedtime, man. I talked about this on the radio and I think this is a good point for the social media stuff. I think it was 2 maybe Thursdays ago, my wife, or maybe it was last Thursday, my wife went out to dinner in the city with her sister. So I'm stuck with my son Jackson for bedtime. And there's a whole bedtime routine. Like he's got to eat at 5:30. He's got to do things like bounce and like play and like stuff to get his last bit of energy out until like 6:30, 6:45. Then we got to like wipe him down, put like lotion on him, put his pajamas on, put the overnight diaper on, give him his last bottle, bring the lights down, bring the music down. And I'm doing all this by myself. Usually my wife does it because I'm on the radio at 7 p.m. or I'm getting ready, I'm at the game or I'm doing notes, whatever. But like that night, I didn't have to be on till later. So I do that and I'm just like, I'm seeing my son and I'm thinking he's going to freak out. I'm thinking he's going to be yelling for his mom because mom. And
but he had his dad.
He was good.
That's amazing.
And, my wife even texted me the next day. She's like, all he keeps saying is da, 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 da. I'm like, because I put him to bed the night before. And I get on the radio and that's just in the front of my mind. And I'm telling my audience, I'm like, as I'm looking at my son and he's beautiful and he loves me and he's just affectionate and he's happy, I'm like, how the hell did I get here?
Right?
That's the biggest success you could have.
Trusting my wife and sticking with my wife and my wife believing in me and me believing in her. And then we get married and we have this kid that I get this joy out of this little boy that like if I would have broken up with her or cheated on her or went a separate way, whatever happened, and we're in a time now where you can swipe right, find you a new chick, you can slide in the DMs. Instagram is showing you the chicks with the biggest asses, biggest tits, the finest girls that you don't have a shot with, but in your mind, you're looking at them, they seem readily available, where you don't take care of home. You don't take care of the one you got. And I got on the radio with a message like, fellas, if she's holding you down, hold her down. Yeah. Don't be looking for something else on the internet. Don't be looking for something on Tinder. Like, we're in a time now where when we get older, there's not going to be any more of these pictures of 30-year anniversaries, 50-year anniversaries, because everyone's become disposable, because the internet makes you think, oh, I can slide in
There's
a DM.
Always something better.
Yeah, I can swipe and find a girl tonight to go to dinner with. No, our parents didn't have that. They didn't have that.
Right. No, it's readily available if you want, and it's a false sense, right? So, like, I grew up in a time where you actually had to go up to a girl when you were out, speak to them, break the ice. And
get her number, write it down.
Handwritten notes.
Write it on your arm or a piece of paper.
On Instagram, and it's like these girls are sending pictures to you because it's all over.
You can just write on their page.
Yeah, the shit's wild.
She likes the heart eyes you put on. You're in there.
Right.
Wild. And,
did you also get any type of more appreciation for your wife with that nightly routine? Like, dang, I'm at work.
She does this every night. She does it every night, and she's waking up to get him in the morning. Right. Ton of respect for her. Ton of appreciation for her because she has it down, and I only step in here and there, and it's a lot. My son is already a big baby at 11 months, and she's not a big woman. Right. Just for her to restrain him and get him to chill, I'm like, ton of respect for you.
And the patience that the ladies have to be able to stay calm there.
You're trying to calm him down for even when he's in his crib now, he's not going to sleep yet. He's climbing up, he's rolling around, and I'm like, the patience it takes.
So much patience.
It's like an hour long, just like bottle to bed to lights out actually sleeping process where like you can't be on your phone, you can't be worried about watching Netflix, you gotta be locked in on that.
Well, I was telling you guys that it was like 2 nights in a row that I was feeling like a little bit anxious and overwhelmed at night, but then this morning I realized, shoot, wrestling season just ended. I've been gone 3 nights a week from November until now.
It's a long time.
I spent 2 nights in a row a little bit flustered. She's been doing this for the last 4 months without me not saying a word. And giving me nothing but loving energy, having dinner ready. And I'm like, damn, stop being a little biatch, man. Like, what the fuck? But I think it's a little bit harder for the guys, man.
It's like, just a transitional period right now for you.
So I know for me, every night I try to interact with my kids before bed, and every morning when I leave my house, they're all asleep they're still asleep when I leave for work. I try to go in and see each one of them in their bed before I leave. I need that connection. Personally, for me, my day won't function. I won't be as happy. But like, I come home, there's nothing better than walking in the door, and maybe Max is a little numb to it. He's 6 and he's, trying to be a tough guy, but my girls, the minute I walk in the door, daddy, daddy, daddy. It's the best feeling ever. Now, there's a lot of times I walk in the door, the girls run up, I got to grab Max, we got to go to Little Sharks, or we're going to football practice, whatever it is.
Quick and rushed.
And exactly, it's rushed. So now when I get home, if we come home from Little Sharks or football practice, it's 7:30, the night's winding down. I am so grateful to be able to take that half hour or whatever, just to sit with the girls and with Max and just unwind. And now Mare does a great job getting the girls ready for bed, and Max is easy. He goes, he brushes his teeth, puts on his basketball shorts, goes to bed. But like, the time I have with them isn't rushed. It's so pure. And you'll see when he gets older, he'll be able to show you how thankful he is for your time.
Right.
In more ways than just smiling at you. He'll run up, he'll hug you, and it'll be so genuine and pure that that's all you'll think about. At least for me, and I know Pete has to feel the same way.
I was just thinking about the moment literally yesterday that I walked in the door, and like all 3 of them screamed daddy and came running at me like, all right, maybe I don't have as much money as I thought I would. Maybe my house and my vehicle doesn't look like maybe some of these people on the internet, but what more do I need than that?
Yeah, that's priceless.
Nothing. Nothing.
That's true success. I know. That's true success.
You can't put a dollar amount on that feeling, what you have with your kids, your family. That's who you work for. Yep. That's your legacy. Like, when you're not here anymore, they're gonna carry your name on. They're living pieces of you, and like, you guys have that young energy now. They're gonna move out one day. They're gonna have their own houses and their own lives, and you're not gonna see them as much or talk to them as much. So you gotta cherish every one of those nights.
Every moment's good and bad.
Don't even take it for granted that you made it home. A lot of people leave their house and don't make it back home to that. Every day you do that, that's a huge win.
Yeah, and you're
Dude,
right.
You are right in our wheelhouse.
He
man.
is. I told you so.
Right in our
Actually,
wheelhouse.
the other day he calls me and he's like, "You're kind of fanboying on this guy Keith," and I was like, "Bro, yeah, a little bit." I said, "I've known Keith a long time. I've been exposed to his struggle along the ways, and actually, I think it was yesterday, Instagram and Facebook went down, and I was trying to send him your social profiles, so you could see some of the stuff you shared, but." I told you you'd like him.
I wanted to have an idea,
No,
like a little bit prepared.
But,
like, that's how I was when Frankie
Yeah,
Edgar was coming
of course.
in. I'm all giddy and excited. Billy was thrilled to have you.
Yeah,
and that in itself says enough. But I was like, all right, like let me get a little bit of a feel on
some
something.
research,
educate
yourself.
He aligns
it's
directly where we're at.
It's everything, dude. Right down the board.
His son is young and he can't maybe speak on some of the experiences we have with older kids.
Doesn't matter.
But it sure sounds like what we're saying is gonna resonate with him.
Bro, if we had a questionnaire with 10 questions, dude, this guy 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 down the board,
Now,
send him in.
Let's talk about this. Let's hit one of those 10. You were an athlete growing up, athlete through college. Have you found that you still maintain a physical aspect of your mental health and care? Like, are you in the gym still?
Bro, that is a struggle in itself as well. I would say this year I really locked in. I on my page, it says hashtag boy dad, no dad bod.
Yes, anti-dad bod is my thing, bro.
But like, all right, when you go through the paternity leave where you're not working,
right,
and then the baby is awake, and then like my wife had the C-section, so she couldn't even get out of the bed for the first couple. I am in the middle of the night every 90 minutes, like, all right, I got to give him a bottle, got to change his, like, you start to lose yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
you don't have time to go to the gym.
No, it's not about you anymore.
Exactly. I didn't have a gym membership. So like, man, I think around Christmas, I was sick, my son was sick, but then we came out of it Christmas Day, and people were just bringing over bread and pasta and desserts, and I'm eating them. And then I remember one night I'm brushing my teeth and I look sideways in the mirror, and I've always been chiseled. Football player, ran track, played basketball, baseball, just always been in the gym. And I noticed a little bit of a gut, and I'm like I was like shocked at myself. Like, you haven't been doing enough abs. You need to get right. And I started really getting right. Okay. So like, I have dumbbells in my house. I have bands in my house. I have a bench in my house, because I don't have the time to go to the gym anymore. Working a night shift and having a young child.
Absolutely.
But I am making sure that I schedule in 30 to 45 minutes to do something active and not let myself go.
You have to,
because it's a confidence thing.
Yeah,
it's like I'm on TV. I'm with these, prominent people. Pretty soon it's gonna be warm again. I want to look good in a shirt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I'm never going to be like a fat person, but there's a version of myself in my head from when I was playing in college and I was super jacked, that even just seeing a little bit of a gut and a faded six-pack, I'm like, no, you gotta.
Faded six-pack, he said.
No, I'm like, you're not where you were. And my wife will joke a little bit and be like, she'll poke a little bit, like she's like,
what's under there.
Yeah, like, yo, get back on your horse a bit, like you're not.
You need that.
And I'm like, yo, because. With the baby and my job, I'm not sleeping. Right. So when I talked about stealing naps, sometimes like, all right, you're not gonna steal a nap in this 30-minute to an hour. Yeah. You're gonna do some push-ups, some sit-ups, get some curls in, do some squats, get your heart rate going so you can feel that mind, body, and soul, and like feel strong in yourself. Like, you need that.
For sure.
Do you feel that when you do exercise, whether it's at home or, let's say you go out for a run, maybe, I don't know, do you feel that you feel better mentally?
100%.
Yeah.
When I don't, I feel down on myself.
Yeah.
I like evaluate myself like, you're a bum. Like, like you got to do better. But the best workouts are when you don't feel like working out, but you push through it anyway, because you get on the other side of it and it's rewarding. You're like, I needed to do that. So yes, yeah. 100%.
I have those workouts. Not a ton, but enough. And a lot of times I'll call Pete to meet me and we'll work out together. And
you hold each other.
Bro, that's what I need, really. Like, first of all, he's like my closest friend. Now we put ourselves in an environment where he is, by all counts, an animal physically. You call him right now, he'll go run 5 miles without thinking twice.
I actually got 10-3 Sunday night.
See? But now I'm next to him trying to keep up with him in every way, shape, and form. And, it just pushes you. And you might not want to be there for that in that moment, but when you're done and you're sweaty and you're wiping your face off and, bro, you feel good.
You're a human being.
Yeah, you feel good.
Your body is your temple.
Yeah.
You have to keep it right. Another thing, as I got older, my lower back I had issues with. My toe I had a problem with. So I was using that as an excuse, like, I don't feel up to it. No, what I did in this past year was find the right chiropractor, find the right podiatrist. Now that I got all that right, I have no excuse not to go outside and hit. I can get like 3 miles.
That's solid, though. That's solid.
It's like, 3 more than I wanted to.
The only reason why I got 10 was because I signed up for a half marathon. I told myself that I wanted to do, but
he doesn't have to. Let's call a spade a spade. You don't have to train for it.
But
You are, and you're there.
It's beautiful to be able to set a date, though, on something. And now I start realizing, okay, that same thing that I'm doing with this half marathon, now I'm going to start doing that with the wrestling club. I finally got the self-worth. I finally got the self-confidence. I know I'm a great coach. It only took me 16 years of coaching and 38 years on this planet. But now I know, okay, now I'm going to visualize and set a date on this next facility. Or add another night or the next thing. Because without that half marathon, there's no way I'm running 10. Like, I don't have the motivation. It's Sunday night. I'm chilling with the fam. But knowing that I have to be there.
We need motivation.
Exactly. And then even while I was on that run, I had to stop at a 4-way stop. I looked at the watch. It was 8.5 miles in. And I came to a screeching halt. And I took like 2 walking steps, and the one side of my brain was like, you could walk. And then I started running again, and I said to myself, if I walk right now, then April 6th is going to be really difficult. If I finish running right now, April 6th is going to be easy. So
when you're tired, push through, push yourself mentally, physically.
It is. And that's where self-confidence comes. Like I kept saying, like, I'm more confident now after 38 years, but I've been keeping more promises to myself now. You know, I'll say that I'm going to do something and I actually do it. Like, if you want to stay down and out, then tell yourself you're going to wake up at 6 a.m., wake up at 8. Right away, now you're like, I already didn't keep that one promise.
Casey's big thing is if he tells himself he's going to do something, like Casey from Lifted for Life. It's a Suicide Awareness Foundation, great guy. But he said if he comes home and he says, I'm going to go for a 3-mile run, it could be downpouring. He's doing the run. He holds himself accountable. And listen, I'm not going out running, but I'm making attempts to better myself every day.
Running
and
is not for everybody.
It's
Accountability.
not, and that's fine.
But it's accountability, right? Like, I do 3 days a week at the gym. It's what I can fit in my schedule. It's pretty intense training, so like it works for me. It's enough. Anything more mentally, I don't know if I can handle, but I'm spread pretty thin. It's
people let themselves go. I mean, man, there are people that I went to high school with that I see now, and I'm like, well, damn,
what happened?
Life's not over for you. Like, you look like your dad.
Yo, they're probably hurting.
Worse than your dad.
They're probably hurting mentally.
Especially
if they were an athlete at one point, like, they ain't feeling good.
Yeah, but
they don't have that confidence,
everybody's hurting mentally. I firmly believe everybody's hurting mentally. I've told you, I believe everybody has thought of suicide in some form or another. Everybody has struggles. It's how you choose to deal with it. Either you're going to sit there and you're going to keep pounding donuts down like I used to, or you're going to get up and you're going to make the best of it and figure out. Or beers. But, and you're going to figure out what works. Now, we talked about it. You said beers. I have 2 drinks now. It takes me like 2 days to recover. I just don't feel good. My blood sugar's high. I don't know what it is, but I feel that if I'm stressed or I'm agitated, I'll go downstairs. Rosie does push-ups with me now, which is really adorable. This little 4-year-old girl banging out push-ups. I send Robbie videos of it all the time.
Nice.
But that helps. I don't need to house some donuts. And, if you look at me a year ago to today.
Yeah, especially because you were talking about how you were like big into like that stress kind of eating.
Yeah,
so, like,
bro, it's big stress eater.
So now you're feeling the same stressors, but now your outlet is banging out some push-ups.
Different outlet.
You have the switch positive from outlet. I need to eat to feel better, or I don't need it. And that's with anything you're putting in your body, right? Like, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, you got to get to a point where you don't need it. I used to feel like I needed to be drunk every Friday, Saturday. If I'm doing a DJ gig, part of the gig is, we get open bar, right? I have a bartender that's going to feed me drinks. I am nowhere near that anymore. I can't. Like, you talk about the anxiety, you talk about the mental cloudiness. I have too much going on with the kid, with businesses, with different things that I have to do to drink all night and mess up my next day.
100%.
It's not worth it.
I just can't. It's not even an option. I went to a wedding Sunday night, and this is how I got my wife home. We're home Sunday night, back with our baby, relieve our nanny by 11 o'clock. And there are people at the wedding that I'm sure at 11 o'clock were hammered and still there. And shout out to them. Maybe they set it up that way. Some people stayed. But as adults with a child and with business to do Monday, my wife's got a 10 a.m. call. I got a 10 a.m. call. We went down there, had maybe 3 drinks from 5 o'clock, stopped around 8, 9, and we're like, hey, we got to pack it up and go. But there's a younger version of myself and even my wife that we would have been too irresponsible. Where 10 o'clock comes and it's like, we're too drunk to drive home. Or, no, you can't have it anymore.
You're missing the call. You're missing the call. You're both missing the call at 10. 100%.
Did you need to party that hard? But
that goes to show you and your personal growth and your personal improvement along the way.
Yeah.
We're not going to be that same 22-year-old version of ourselves. We hope. But then you look around and some people aren't evolving yet. You know, their time's going to come where something's going to come at them.
They have to be willing to do it,
shout out to you for being able to be aware of that and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to hit the brakes at 3. We got stuff to do. For me personally, I haven't drank in so long that silly people in my life over the last few years have been trying to get me to drink. And yeah, I could probably have a drink right now.
Is it worth it?
I could probably have one.
Is it worth it?
I'm 38 now. I'm not 20. I think I was 9 when I stopped. But I don't know what the future would hold if I had one today. Maybe the other side of my brain starts talking. All right, you had one yesterday. Why don't you have 3 today?
Yeah.
All right, why don't you have 5? Before you know, I'm doing freaking cake stands.
Flip the switch that you don't need it.
I don't
not
need
even
it.
one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I used to say like, not drinking right now in the beginning. Now I just say I don't drink. Yeah. And then I realized because I was telling Billy, but I would be at parties when I first stopped drinking, or I'd be at a wedding or something. And I thought everybody was judging me because I wasn't drinking. Now I'm the same guy almost 9 years later, and people at the weddings are coming up to me. Oh man, you know, I've been drinking way too much lately. Like, I can't believe that you stopped. Like, I'm like, wait.
You're like a role model.
I thought everyone was judging me for not drinking. You guys got respect for me for not drinking? Oh shit! I was telling myself completely different things that whole time. It's harder.
What's harder to do? Go up to the open bar and get yourself 8 drinks, or have the restraint to sit there with everybody around you getting drunk and say, "No, I'm good."
Well, that's what I used to say. Somebody called me. I don't want to say the word, but the P word for not taking a shot one time in maybe a joking manner. But I said it's harder to say no than it is to say yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Now on that note, you got to get out of here, right?
I think in the next 15 we can close. You just made me think of a story that's good to share.
I just don't want to fuck your day up.
No. Trust me, I'm on it. I'm responsible, and I know the
Here
time.
he is.
With the drinking, right? I started getting arrested young, like 13, just for stupid stuff. And I'm coming up on 10 years, knock on wood, since the last time I was arrested. But I was always getting arrested drunk. I was never getting arrested for anything sober. Right. DUI, assault, peeing in public, just a bunch of stupid things that come with going out and partying and being in parties and situations like that, man. And you mentioned the suicide thing. The only time I ever thought about committing suicide, and I thank God that like I just was able to get through this. I was 26 and I'm coming up on 36. It'll be 10 years. I'm going to celebrate it, not with a drink, but just celebrate it in my mind, like thanking God that I got here. When I was 26, I was working at Guitar Center around that time, I believe, or maybe just got out of there. And I remember I got arrested twice in one night. The first time I got arrested for peeing in public, ran, so I got the resisting arrest, like just stupid, just young and dumb. Got caught doing that. But my homies that were with me that night, they stayed and waited outside the jail till they released me and let me go. And then we get in the car, and one of my boys is upset because he was supposed to meet up with these girls or whatever. And he happened to be my roommate at the time. He's in the front seat. He turns around, punches me in the face in the back seat. So we're driving, my boy is sober, and we start tussling in the car. And as we're driving, we drive out of the one town. This is a summer thing. We're down in like Wall area where like they have DUI checkpoints. Yeah. We drive into a DUI checkpoint as we're drunk and fighting. So I go to jail again. So that night, bro, I spent hours being booked, being just drunk and like cuffed to a wall. And when they finally let me go, man, it was so late at night. I couldn't get a car. I couldn't get anyone to pick me up. I don't even remember how I ended up getting home, but I remember stumbling and falling and being so down about the fact that I didn't have any money and that I got arrested twice, and now I've got 2 court dates, and I'm gonna have fines, and I'm gonna have to pay a lawyer.
Damn.
The cars are whizzing by me as I'm just in the grass, and I had the thought that I should roll over into the street and just get run over and end it right there.
Yeah.
So glad you did it, man.
You know, shit gets dark for a lot of people, right? And that's your story, and everybody's got that moment where it's been a consideration, and you're strong enough to push through, and you're strong enough.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
So glad
I
you
mean,
did.
we wouldn't be able to have this moment right now if you didn't push through and
Wouldn't
become
have
the
the
person
baby.
you were.
I mean, so many moments.
Yeah. No, but I'm just talking
Yeah.
on such a micro
Yeah,
scope.
yeah.
Like, just sitting here talking, the three of us right now.
Yeah, we
we
have
wouldn't
like a
that
whole nother
moment.
It
guest,
was
bro.
extremely hard to see the future in my worst moment.
Yeah.
Being broke, getting arrested twice, being so drunk, and just out of it.
Yeah.
The thought creeps into your mind, I should just end it.
But that's
Yeah.
where
And if I
faith
would have
comes.
rolled into that street and got ran over by a car, my mom would have been devastated.
100%.
My
It trickled
wife,
down.
my friends, everyone. And you know, that little bit of time, like, I don't know how much time it was that I was having these thoughts. And like I said, I still don't know how I got home that night. Like, I could have made a terrible decision.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
there are people listening to this that have been down in the dumps and
Oh, yeah.
probably wanted to make a terrible decision
100%.
to end it.
Oh, yeah.
You got to keep going. You even just have blind faith.
Yeah.
Even if you can't see the future, you
Well, I
got to
really
believe that the
appreciate you
future
sharing
is,
that.
Well,
is better.
faith,
Yeah.
faith gets you
100%.
through a lot of shit. You know, I'm sure when you woke up the next day and were dealing with that anxiety and that hangover a little bit, I'm sure you reflected.
Yeah, but it's like that regret.
Oh, yeah.
That misery, it'll wear off, but man, in it, I had no idea, man. I had no idea what God had planned for me, and I'm glad that I didn't try and hit the off button
Yes.
because things got really bad
Yes.
one night. The last piece I'll leave you with, I told you guys about grief, right? And I just spoke on what that would have done to my mom. Not long after that, my brother lost his life, and he lost his life in New York City late at night. He fell from his fire escape of his office building. And my brother had been struggling with alcohol. He had been struggling with partying and drugs and whatnot. And I think he was 37 when we lost him. I was 27. And I think what he was going through was that he had made more money in the city. He had his own place. He was up top. But through being, you know, in the party life, drinking, smoking, doing, you know, everything in New York that you do in the party scene, he blew a lot of money, and he ended up moving back home with us, with my mom, with my sister, and I. Me, at the time, I loved that. I thought we were getting the band back together. You know, I packed I rented a U-Haul from Neptune, drove to Brooklyn, moved him out of his place, packed up all the stuff. I was just with my cousin Malik last night, who at the time, man, Malik had to been like 20 or 21, younger. My brother had his own personal moving service because I was pumped. Like, get out of New York. New York is crazy. Come back home. We're getting the band together. He didn't last 1 year doing that. Yeah. It was a rainy day like this. It was a Friday night in New York City. The last time I ever see my brother, we take the bus from Red Bank to New York, and he used to always be bullying my little sister, and I'm the middle child, so I end up stepping in and pushing him, like, yo, leave her alone. It's 7 a.m. She's got to go to work. I got to go to work. You got to go to work. I'm working at MTV, and I'm supposed to go home. And it's funny, I was talking about the studio that I had. I had to go home for a meeting at the studio that I had, and my brother and I used to take the bus home, but I worked at MTV late, and then I beelined out of there where we didn't reconnect. He went to the bar, drank that night, partied hard, met up with his drug dealer, got some weed, had some other extracurricular activities going on, and we didn't hear from him until I called him late that night, maybe like 4 a.m., and he was messed up, and I could tell he was messed up, and I'm just like, bro, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, I just knew he was in a bad way, and he lied to us. He told us he was going to go sleep out in Brooklyn, but he died right after that. He went out to smoke a cigarette or whatever on the fire escape and fell like 80 feet to his death. And I just had this feeling, maybe like a brother keeper feeling, or just like my mom's birthday was now that Sunday. So we didn't hear from him Saturday. I go back up to the city, and I'm calling him and I'm texting him and nothing. And I'm like, he's in trouble. I'm like, if he's not dead, then like somebody's got him locked up somewhere in a Brooklyn basement, tied up in a Brooklyn basement. And I remember Monday came, and my mom had his room door open, and I closed it. And my mom's like, why are you closing his door? I'm like, he's gone. And she's like, I'm going into the city Monday to my job. And I go to our Monday morning meeting, and I tell my bosses, I'm like, I have to go. And they're like, why? I'm like, my brother's been missing for over 48 hours. I need to go to the precinct around his job and the last place that he was, partying and drinking on Friday, and have them start like sweeping the area looking for a body. And that was at maybe 9 a.m. By 12, they found his body behind the building. They called my mom up, and we went through the most traumatic experience going to NYPD. And I'll never forget that guy telling us, the sergeant or whatever he was, the news, and it broke my heart. It shattered my mind, but it made me realize like life is precious, fragile. I didn't know that would be the last weekend I would see my brother, and it lit a fire under me more than anything else that ever happened to me. The most devastating thing that ever happened to me, I then was just like, I got to get it, man. I got to figure it out. The drinking ain't worth it, and I don't know how long I have on the planet, but like I went through the whole process. My mom was too broken up to deal with talking to the coroner, deal with the paperwork, deal with the funeral proceedings. I, at 27, had to take all of that on for the family, and it just showed me what happens when you lose a life, and it made me literally think about my own life and the legacy I wanted to leave behind. And I really started to get after it after that.
Yeah, but that could have went either way for you, because you reevaluated you and you realized the drinking wasn't where it was at for you. That could have put you in a downward spiral. So you got to be real.
During that the initial
the grief period.
I gained more weight than I had ever.
Yeah, but
gained.
you said you looked at your situation and realized drinking wasn't where it was at.
But everybody was drinking, bringing bottles over, bringing food over.
But you were aware enough to realize, all right, for now, it is what it is, but this is not sustainable. And, you could have kept going down that road. A lot of people would have buried their grief in a bottle. A lot of people will. I would, if I was you. But you were at least self-aware enough to not let it continue.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say, my sister went through it too. She's 2 years younger than me. We were both working in the city. And, after that, she took a one-way flight to LA and started her business. Now she does, glitter makeup. It's called the Sustainable Sparkle Bar. She's great at what she does. It's biodegradable glitter. She gets invited to Coachella, Lollapalooza,
That's cool.
Bonnaroo to like sparkle girls up, and she makes good money doing it. And she's built the whole brand online. And what I said to her was, everybody's going to be looking at us now. They all know we just lost our brother, who was like a father figure to us. Our dad wasn't around. Everybody's going to be looking to see what we do next. We're already drinking and gaining weight this first month grieving, but we got to snap out of it. It was October of 2015. So we had the holidays, and I remember talking to her, and I was like, once we get into this next year, we have to go, because everybody's going to look at us and see how we respond. Are they going to fold? Are they going to be, drinking, smoking, doing drugs? Are they going to go down a downward spiral? Or are we going to honor our brother by living the right way and making something out of ourselves? And we both did.
God bless you, man.
That's an impressive story in the sense of the outcome for you and your sister. You took a negative.
I'm so glad you two had each other too. Not to cut you off, Billy, but I'm so glad the two of you guys had each other.
That's what I'm saying, with your kids as siblings and their little, rivalries, whatever.
Yeah, when we were talking siblings, I saw your wheels were turning. I didn't realize that there was three of you guys. I'm thinking about my brother
and sister. We fought when we were young, but as we became older, we're thick as thieves. It's like there's no stronger bond, because my sister knows things about me that no other humans know.
And you're willing to go to war for your sibling. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. My sister and I have a stronger relationship now than we ever did. Like, she always had my back. She was always a big supporter, but she stopped drinking about 3 or 4 years ago or so. And once that happened, I got to see like the real her, like without the beer goggles on, I call it. And I'm just like super proud of her and like where she's at. And you're right, man. Like, she, no matter what, like, she loves me and supports me no matter what.
She's always for you.
She would always stick up for me if anybody tried to pick on me, whatever it may be. And now that we're adults, it's still real strong.
You guys were developed in the same place. Like that stuff goes a long way. And that's what I was saying about your kids. When you guys are gone, they're going to be adults, and they're going to hold each other down in your honor, in your name, through your tutelage and raising them and how you brought them up. I look forward to raising my son and maybe having another little boy or a little girl and teaching them right from wrong, and hopefully being a beacon of light and a great example for them to look at. And we'll see what the future holds. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be challenges, and that's the whole thing. You're blessed to live, but it's a gift and a curse, right?
Absolutely.
You got the right perspective. So whether it's one kid or 5 kids, you're going to crush it as a father.
100%.
And it sounds like you're crushing it as a spouse too. So
100%. You are an amazing soul, man. I feel the light. I felt the light when I first walked in before you even started talking. And
Thank
then the whole time you were talking here, you're an amazing soul, man.
I told you, Keith had good stuff.
That was some story. I think this might be my favorite one yet.
Yeah.
I think I said that a few times, but...
Yeah, but you know what? We keep bringing quality people on that align with our views and our current mental states, and that helps a lot. You know, it's easy to enjoy the episode when we align mentally and we're there. So, all right. Cool. We're good?
Of course, man.
Right.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And like I said, if this reaches one person and helps one person in their daily, weekly journey, that's what I hope for, man. Inspire or retire, and you gotta show people the real stuff, the real behind the scene things. It's not all just highlights and a rocket ship to the top.
We'll get Keith back here in a couple weeks, maybe too. Do a follow up.
Part 2.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Click the links, like, share, subscribe. As always, reach out to me, Petey, or you could reach out to Keith. Find him on social media. Make sure to tune into his sports talk radio show, KM to the AM. And thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.